Hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and today I'm going to be explaining kinds of kindness. So in case you haven't seen Kinds of Kindness, you probably should, or this video will be pointless to you. But Kinds of Kindness is a new anthology film by writer-director Yorgo Lanthimos, most known at this point for Poor Things. If you're not familiar with the term anthology, it means that there's multiple stories in one movie. In this case, there's three. Three separate stories that don't have any direct link to one another other than they're in the same movie and written directed by the same person, and in this case, actually acted out by the majority of the same actors. They're not playing the same characters, but Jesse Plemons, Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe, and a few other actors are in each one of these stories. And to avoid any kind of confusion while I'm talking about these stories, I'm just going to be referring to people as the actors rather than the characters because it will just keep things easier and simpler for me. In the first story, we see that Jesse Plemons is a businessman working for Willem Dafoe, but Willem Dafoe is not a normal boss. He's extremely controlling. And yes, there's a lot of micromanaging bosses out there, but not like this. He wants to control any and everything that Jesse Plemons does, from his diet to when he wakes up, goes to sleep, when and with who he has sex with, what he eats, how he dresses. Every single thing that he does is dictated to him by his boss. And as crazy as that is, it doesn't stop there. There's something nefarious happening as well. He is instructed by his boss to get into a car accident as fast as he can, hitting this other car at this intersection. So he does, but he doesn't do it good enough. So he's informed by his boss that he has to do it again. He has to do it faster so that he is hospitalized and the guy that he hits dies. Jesse Plemons doesn't like this. He's put up with a lot, including even giving his wife drugs against her knowledge so that she cannot have kids. They've been trying to have kids for a long time, but without her knowing, he's been putting stuff in her drinks so that she can't have them. She's been not having miscarriages. She's actually been aborting babies without her own knowledge. It's extremely effed up stuff that his boss is doing to him, and he wants no more of it. He's finally past his limit, so he decides, I'm not going to do that. But even when he tries to stand up for himself, his boss doesn't like how he does it, and so tells him, no, you should sit down. Actually, I'll have you standing here. Whatever he does, he's still being controlled. So finally, he's done, and he's let go, and his boss says, hey, don't even worry about it. You can keep your car, you can keep your house. I'm not going to take any of that back from you. And guess what? Now you can go wherever you want. You can eat whatever you want. You can fuck whoever you want. You're not under my power anymore. And that seems like a great thing. And then immediately everything goes south. He tries to admit to his wife all the terrible things that happened, and she immediately leaves him. He is now left alone. And he's seemingly out of a job now. He thought that he could still keep working, but he can't. He's not allowed to work anymore, and his life completely falls apart. He has no money, he has no family, everything's gone. So he tries to get a new job, but that doesn't work. Everybody's ignoring him. He tries to get a drink at the bar, but he doesn't even know how to do that without somebody telling him what he should drink, what he should eat, what he should do. He's at a loss completely. Even when he tries to pick up a girl, the only way he knows how is the way that he was told how by Willem Dafoe previously, and it doesn't work. Eventually he meets another girl, they start dating, things seem to be going well, and then he realizes that she has been given the same mission that he failed at. She crashes into this man, sending both of them to the hospital, but she doesn't succeed either. The other man is still alive, so he takes the opportunity to go and kill that man, putting himself back in the good graces of his former boss. And it actually works. They're seen cuddling together at the end of the first film, and his assistant goes off to play a song on the piano and sing. And that's how it ends. Very weird, but let's keep going. In the second short, we see that Jesse Plemons is married to Emma Stone, who is currently missing. She's lost at sea and presumed dead. But surprise twist, she's actually not, and she's back. She's in the hospital, but seems okay. until she doesn't. Everything that he knows about his wife is completely wrong now. Her shoe size is wrong. She eats the wrong kind of foods. She makes weird sexual advances that he's not used to. Everything about her is just slightly wrong from how he knows her. Throughout the first half of this second short, he seems completely justified in his suspicions of her. Something is clearly wrong. She seems crazy or wrong. Maybe she's been replaced by a lookalike or a clone, or something's weird going on. But around the middle, there's a sudden shift where he becomes the crazy one and she is trying to win him back. It's a very weird transition. She has a monologue about the type of life she lived on the island that was apparently run by dogs who offered them cake in lieu of real food because the dogs can't eat chocolate cake, so there's other food that they can eat, and the humans are allowed to it if there's some left over, but there's so many people trying to get it, it's so hard to get, so instead she takes the easy, convenient thing that she can get without any fight. The chocolate cake. From there, we go back to Jesse Plemons, who seems to have gone completely crazy. He's refusing to eat. She keeps trying to get him to eat and eventually says, alright, fine, you know what I want to eat? I want to eat your finger. Chop it off and serve it to me with cauliflower. And so she does. He decides, oh, I don't actually want that. It's not any good. Your fingers are disgusting. I fed it to the cat. But what I do want is something actually satisfying, like your leg, or actually your kidney. Give me your kidney or your liver. I think he says liver, actually. Regardless, it's an internal organ. And so she goes ahead and tries to give that to him. She attempts to cut it out of herself and dies in the process. He finds her and then opens the front door to reveal his wife there. That's weird. But yet again, that now has ended and we're on to the next one. After a quick montage of dogs doing weird things like having sex and hanging themselves and other things. In the third and final short film in this anthology, we see another Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons working for some sort of cult trying to find a supposed savior or chosen one. There is a woman that is supposed to be one of a pair of twins, with her twin being dead, who has the ability to bring people back to life. They are working on behalf of this cult that once again is dictating their choices. They're only allowed to drink the water that is given to them by the cult leaders, played by Willem Dafoe and Hong Chow, and they also have to follow certain rules. Emma Stone's character has left her family behind of a husband and a daughter to be a part of this cult. She's not allowed to visit them anymore. She's not allowed to be with them. She's not allowed to become intoxicated. She has to remain pure. You can also only have sex with the cult leaders. If you are found to be impure, then you are kicked out of the cult. And what happens to Emma Stone is she has been visiting her daughter and her ex-husband without anybody, except for Jesse Plemons has his suspicions, knowing. Eventually, however, her ex-husband drugs and rapes her, and so she is found there the next morning and is deemed impure and kicked out of the cult. She decides to continue on trying to find the savior on her own, eventually does, but in her process of bringing the savior back to the cult to once again redeem herself and be welcomed back in with open arms, she accidentally kills the savior. And thus, the final part, and therefore the entire film, ends. What a trip. So what does any of this mean? This all seems pretty random, very sporadic, very artsy, very weird, a lot of gratuitous nudity and shots of feet. A lot of weird stuff going on. What could this possibly mean? Obviously, it's got to be some sort of analogy. This is allegorical in some way, right? Well, what is it an allegory for? What is the connection between these three seemingly random stories? And I will do my best to interpret what I believe it to mean. I can't explain everything, so don't ask me what certain things mean, because I don't know what every little thing means, and I don't know if every little thing has meaning or is important to the whole. But my main goal is to explain the broad meaning of this anthology as a whole. So to me, when you look at the first story, we'll start there. It's very clearly about a man working for another man, but I think there's heavy religious undertones in this story. The way that he dictates everything he does, including what he can and can't eat, who he's allowed to be with, when they're allowed to have kids or not have kids, dictating everything he does. And then the way that when he tries to leave the system, he immediately loses his family, his job. It's a lot like leaving a cult, leaving Mormonism, leaving Scientology, leaving any religion, really. You risk leaving behind everybody and everything you know. And so he's stuck in this wasteland of feeling insecure. Even though he's been given freedom for the first time in his life, he doesn't know how to deal with it. He doesn't know what to do with it. And so he eventually panics and decides he needs to go back to the old system. As bad as it was, at least it was safe and it was secure, seemingly. And so he's willing to do a terrible, awful thing. Murder a man in cold blood just to be accepted back by his boss and his secretary, who then finishes up this whole reunion ceremony with a worship song. That's what it reminded me of, really, as somebody who's been in, religious circles and in cult. There's a lot of doing things that are questionable in the name of faith, and then wrapping that up with a feel-good song. And that's what that was we set up a piano and we said, oh, isn't this wonderful? And that's how that ends. Moving to the third story, it's more obvious and overtly about a cult. It literally is a cult throughout the entire story. And so that seems pretty obvious. And it's once again about trying to win back and earn acceptance back into this cult that we've been shunned from. This group of people that we've been shunned from, we're trying to win our way back in through doing a terrible, horrible thing. In this case, not murdering somebody, but kidnapping somebody and manipulating and using them, not like a person, not like a human, but as a tool, as a vessel. You're not treating them like they're a human being with feelings and emotions. They're just a means to an end, and you are taking them and using them however you see fit. And then you throw in the fact that at the end, she accidentally kills the savior, which to me is a direct correlation, a direct response to and commentary on Christianity, is that you finally have the savior you've been looking your whole life for, and the first thing you do is you kill them. Ironic, right? And really, really unfortunate. So if the anthology, therefore, is about cults and religions and how that manipulation can really hurt people and get people killed, ruin their lives, all these things, then what does that middle story have to do with anything? There wasn't any overt or obvious religious aspects to that, not even anything on the level of the first story, which is a little bit more subtle. You might only pick up on that if you have experience in religious circles. It could just be like a weird story about a boss and his employee. What does this second story have to do with anything? Well, I did read a little bit about what Yorgo Lanthimos had to say about that part of the story, and he explained it as being about somebody who is so desperate to give love and receive love and acceptance that they are willing to give parts of themselves to that person. Emma Stone's character was willing to cut off a finger and give it to Jesse Plemons to earn back his love. And then on top of that, she was willing to kill herself, cut out her own organs to satisfy him, win his love back. And that's why I think this whole anthology isn't necessarily about religion or cults, although it has heavy influence, heavy inspiration from those things. In general, this anthology is about the dangers of obsession and the dangers of being in love and passionate about something. In the first of the three stories, you have heavy religious influences, but it could also just simply be about work, being passionate about work and trying to be accepted and promoted and do well within this work environment. In the third one, it is very clearly about a cult, but there's also family references in there. It's not just the cult members that are evil. You could argue that the most evil character in the whole anthology is the ex-husband, who is very clearly not involved in the cult, and he's just terrible. He drugs and rapes his ex-wife. He is the lowest of the lows. He is a disgusting, perverted person. That has nothing to do with the religion, but what it does have is a relationship that is, to put it lightly, toxic. When you are absolutely obsessed with a person and you are so in love with them that you're willing to go to any ridiculous lengths to win them over, win their affection, win their attention, win their heart, you will do awful and terrible things in the process. That story about the dogs wasn't just random. She is talking about her psychology as a person when she could have stayed and fought for something good, something that was sustaining, something that she deserved and needed to live, real good food. She decided not to do that, instead take the easy, convenient, simple thing, the thing she didn't have to fight for, the thing that was just there every day without having to try the chocolate cake. And yeah, that's nice at first and that's cool and all, but it's gonna be gross and you're going to really hurt in the long term eating nothing but chocolate cake. That's awful for you. But if it's easy and convenient, we just take it. And so Emma Stone's character is willing to put up with practically anything. Scratch that, literally anything. She kills herself for somebody that immediately replaces her, the love of his life, with another version of her right after that. He doesn't really care about her, he cares about his idea of her, who he wanted her to be. This idea of Liz, this idea of the perfect woman, because as she's changing, her feet are too big, her likes and dislikes change, he's no longer in love with her because that's not the idea of her he had. He immediately replaces her with somebody that fits that idea, and she is left having poured out herself entirely for somebody that didn't give a shit. Even when he asked for the finger, he never ate it. Even when he asked for the organ, he never ate that either. He just left that on the floor. He doesn't care about her at all, but he uses and abuses her because that's what people do when you let them. So this anthology in general, as a whole, is about the dangers of being fully committed, fully invested into something other than yourself. Whether it's a person, whether it's a job, whether it's a religion, cult, whatever it is, you can never make any of these things more important than staying true to yourself. You have to take care of yourself first, and that sounds selfish, that sounds bad, but if you make these other things a higher priority, they will use and abuse you, and they often do to so many people. So that's what I really feel like this story is about. Like I said, there's a lot more intricate little nitty-gritty details throughout that I'm not entirely certain on all of that yet. I need to watch it a few more times, but as a whole, as an overarching theme, that's what I really feel like this means. But that's just my opinion. What do you think though? If you've seen it, let me know in the comments below what you thought. And also don't forget to like, share, and if you're new here, subscribe. Thanks guys. Bye.